Oh, okay. Good enough.
And good morning or afternoon.
Good morning to you, Molly.
Hi, I'm on Zoom here with Bill Waddington from TeaSource, and we're going to talk about Earl Grey today, and we're going to sample the house Earl Grey, and then we're going to sample the Earl Grey white tips.
Yep.
And I'm going to switch to my back camera so you can see what's going on.
It's great to be here, Molly, and I'm going to move my laptop over so folks can see what I'm doing at the same time, because I think we're steeping the same teas at the same time, so we can talk about them together, right?
Right.
All right, let me move this over so you can see my paraphernalia. All right, and I think you can still hear me.
Right. And the tea we're going to start with is the House Earl Grey. And when you get your tasting kit, it'll be the one with the blue dot. I couldn't find my blue dots, so mine has a blue donut on it. So, okay.
And from a tea grading point of view, this is a BOP grade, and it's a smaller piece of tea leaf than the second one we will cup up today. So if you get confused, it's the smaller leaf.
And I only have 3 grams in here, so that's what I'm going to put in the kettle.
Okay.
So, can you see my teapot? A little bit. So I have some boiling water, and what I like to do is just heat up my tea kettle with some hot water, get it a little warmed up before I put in the tea. And what are you doing?
I'm actually doing the same thing because I forgot, and everyone's watching me do this. I'm using professional tea cupping sets, and I'm in Minnesota. I should know better. What Molly's doing is 100% correct. You need to warm up your steeping vessel before you start steeping. Otherwise, the temperature will drop about 10 to 15 degrees like that. So that's what I'm doing too, Molly. I'm warming my steeping vessels.
Yeah, this is Missouri, but it's still cold. Yeah, I'm using 2 teapots, one for each one. All right.
And my steeping vessels are a little smaller than Molly's. They're professional tea cupping sets, and I'm using 2.5 grams of tea because the vessel itself holds a little bit less water than Molly's.
All right. Put it in there. All right. So this is a BOP grade. What does BOP stand for?
Broken orange pekoe. And it means broken pieces of an orange pekoe leaf. And the definition of an orange pekoe leaf, for those who don't know, and I know a lot of folks do now, it's just a measurement. It's a leaf this big, roughly 3/4 of an inch to 1.25 inches or so. It's just a measurement. But this is broken orange pekoe leaf.
Okay.
And I'll start steeping whenever you do, Molly.
All right. So we're gonna pour out the hot water. I'm doing that off stage so it doesn't get on my computer.
Sure. Smart.
If that ever happens, you know. Okay. So this is a little 1 cup teapot from I think this is this from you or?
Nope, I don't think it's from me. Are you sure it's 1 cup, by the way?
It's 2 cups.
If it's 2 cups, Molly, you should be, I guess I didn't know that before. If it's 2 cups, you should be using 6 grams of tea.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I don't know if we need to take a break here. When you asked for a measurement, I assumed it was a 1 cup standard that you were using. I apologize. That's my fault.
Well, I'm gonna do 1 cup. Maybe if I just don't fill it up all the way.
As long as the basket doesn't keep the leaves from the water, you could just throw the leaves loose in the pot for this demonstration too. And then you know they'll get immersed in the water if you just use 1 cup. That
All
would
right,
work.
that's what we're doing. So I
There you
don't have
go.
to remeasure the tea.
There you go.
Okay. So that's why I'm taking the basket out, because this is a larger teapot than your cup is going to be. All right, so let's put our leaves in there, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then we're going to bathe them in, I have 100-degree Celsius water.
Me too.
All right. This Earl Grey requires very hot water.
Are you pouring the water in now, Molly?
Yep, I just poured the water in.
I'm doing the same.
You can kind of see the leaves in there. Where are we? Yeah, you
And
see
I've set
that?
my timer for 3 minutes and covering the leaves to hold the heat in.
Good idea. Okay, 3 minutes.
And did you want to talk about this tea or get the other one steeping, Molly? What were you thinking?
All right, let's get the other one steeping too. Might as well. That's a good idea. All right. So now we're going to steep the other one. I'm taking the basket out of this other teapot. All right. I have a big green teapot for this one. And all right, so this is the Earl Grey white tips. And talk about this one. What is this one like?
This is a wonderful tea, and I'll talk more in detail as they're steeping too. This is the base tea on this one is grade OP1, and it's from Sri Lanka, from a gentleman I think is the best tea maker in all Sri Lanka, a guy by the name of Chaminda Jaryawardena. He's the manager of the Lumbini estate. We bring this tea in specifically for our Earl Grey white tip. You can see it's a much longer, wiry, larger leaf. Means it brews a little bit slower, so I recommend we steep this one maybe 3.5 to 4 minutes. But then you see these things over here, the white tips. Those are white tea from Fujian province in China. I'm sorry, from Guangxi province in China. Sometimes they're called silver needles, and they're the long, fuzzy buds at the end of the teas. And we blended those with that wonderful tea from Sri Lanka with natural flavors, mostly oil of bergamot, and made, to my palate, the best server I've ever had. And I'm from Minnesota, so we are not allowed to brag, but it just brings a different level of sensation to the cup than a standard Earl Grey because of the white tips, because of the white tea in there. So that's what you're looking at there.
Okay, so that's what those things are. All right.
Yeah, those are silver needles. It's a specifically white tea that we blend right in with the Earl Grey and the tea from Sri Lanka. And I'm looking at my timer, and we've got about 20 seconds to go before the first one is done, just to give you a little warning. I don't know if you want to get this one going before then. We probably can.
Yeah, okay. We're going to start this one and then we'll be done with the other one.
Almost like we planned it, Molly.
Almost. Here we go.
That's the timer for the second one. I'm going to set my timer and steep the second one, the white tip, for probably 3.5 to 4 minutes. And as it's steeping, I will talk about why, if you want.
Okay.
And I'm decanting the first tea right now. You can kind of see that a little bit here. The cup I was steeping it in is decanting into the bowl. And it holds back the leaves. Wow, what a great aroma. And you can see the leaves are in the steeping cup, and the steep tea is done. Let that cool for a minute. I talked about why I'm going to steep the second tea with the longer leaves a little bit longer, 30 seconds to 60 seconds longer. And that's a pretty much good rule of thumb. The smaller the leaf particle, the smaller the size of the tea leaf or the piece of tea leaf that you have, typically, the shorter the brewing time. The longer the leaf size or leaf itself, the longer the brewing time. And it's because a shorter leaf, there's more surface area for the water to interact with the leaf and extract flavor. So it's going to steep faster.
Okay. So I got some of my leaves in my traditional tea method.
And that's fine.
And you can see they're smaller.
Yep.
Okay. And I'll put them on here. I have to smell.
Isn't that a great aroma?
Ooh, lots of smell.
Lots of what?
It smells good.
Good.
Like when I opened the bag, you know, and that bergamot just overflows. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So looking pretty good.
All right. And the first one, the House Earl Grey, I'll tell you also, the base tea is much better than average tea. The base tea is a BOP grade, broken orange pekoe, I talked about that, from Anhui province of China. And again, we bring this one in specifically for a base for a couple of blends, not just the Earl Grey. The base tea is basically it's a everyday grade of Keeman tea. And Keeman tea, if you've ever had it, is more than an everyday tea. So it's not a super expensive base grade, but it's a pretty darn nice one. And if you like Keeman teas, you'll kind of get that taste in the bottom end of this Earl Grey. And Keemans are known for having a pretty strong, hearty, almost toasty or chocolatey note to it. If you've never tried a Keeman tea, I'd recommend it from Anhui province of China. So that's the base tea in the House Earl Grey. And it gives it a real good, we kind of call it a bottom end to this tea. And then the bergamot just floats across the top and adds this sweet, floral, aromatic note to it. Oh man, I don't even like Earl Grey and I like that tea. What do you think, Molly?
There's a lot of bergamot in it.
But you can still taste the tea underneath. You can still taste the tea underneath. That's kind of one of our guiding principles. Can you taste the tea underneath? And if it's too much bergamot for any of your participants or your watchers here, Molly, simply cut back on the steeping time. I would not cut back on the steeping, the amount of tea. And that's the timer for the second one, the Earl Grey white tip, Molly.
Okay.
So I'm decanting that one now. And with a professional cupping set, I just tilt the whole kit and caboodle into the bowl and it decants itself.
Okay. So.
And we steep this one a little bit longer, just under a minute longer. Oh man, God, that's a great aroma.
I have to juggle teapots, so hang on.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great.
This.
I like that tea. I like the base tea. Again, the base tea on the Earl Grey white tip is a longer leaf tea. The grade is OP1, so it's a whole tea leaf that's been dried from the Lumbini estate in Sri Lanka. Again, I think Lumbini makes the best teas in all of Sri Lanka. And we bring this base tea in specifically for our Earl Grey white tip. Have you had a chance to cup it up and try it, Molly?
Not yet. I got to get my other cup.
Oh, there you go.
All right. I got one.
And you can see a different, I'm trying to get these arranged. There you go. That's sort of right. The one on the, in my left hand that I'm jiggling is the House Earl Grey. The Earl Grey white tip, the one I'm jiggling is the Earl Grey white tip. And you can see the Earl Grey white tip is a little bit darker. We steeped it an extra minute or so, but you can still, you can still see they're very similar cups. Both bring a lot of red to the cup for a black tea.
You see the difference in the,
Yeah.
probably should have a white, something white behind it. I have to smell. Just a minute. Oh, that's very nice. That's very different than the other one.
Yep. How would you describe those differences, Molly?
So far, this is more like why I drink tea.
Ah,
So I'll put the white tips on the white tray here so I can keep them straight. So each person in the tea festival is going to get, did I do that right? Yes, I can really tell. Yeah, the House Earl Grey is definitely more, it's like more fruity,
yep.
flowery. Um, yeah.
Yep.
This one might be gone first, though. Just saying.
Whichever one you like better, everyone's tastes are different. I actually, in retrospect here, after I tasted it, your watchers may have seen me add a little tiny bit of hot water to the Earl Grey white tip, and I did, because it was actually too strong even for me. I'd recommend steeping that at 3.5 minutes as opposed to 4 minutes, as long as I pushed it here, just in retrospect, because it was even, I like strong tea, but it was a tidge strong for me. So I added a tiny shot of water, like half a eyedropper full of water to it. And that brought down the flavor, just the edge just enough. So I'd probably steep it in the next time at about 3.5 minutes, but it brings out a texture, a textural, a silkiness to it. And that's coming from those silver needles, the white tips themselves. And if you ever try silver needles, the white tea by itself, a wonderful experience. You'll get a very pronounced silkiness, textural quality to it. And with that Earl Grey white tip, that starts to come through. The other thing I love about the Earl Grey white tip is you do taste the base tea more. If you drink Earl Grey because you love the impact of strong bergamot and that huge floral aromatic, almost perfumey thing, drink our Earl Grey house. And there's a lot of good Earl Greys out there. But if you like tea and you like a little hint, or not even a hint, but you like the Earl Grey and the bergamot to kind of complement the tea, and it's the tea itself you love, the Earl Grey white tip will just knock you, I think, knocks my socks off. And it's got that floral complemented by a textural silkiness that you won't typically find. That's how we kind of describe the difference between these two teas, Molly.
It's like the tea and the things are it's like layers.
Oh, great way to put it.
It has layers of flavor, and so I imagine, can you steep these again, or?
You can, but they're black teas, and no black tea is meant to be steeped a second time. Greens, oolongs, dark teas, white tea, sure. Black teas really aren't meant to, but if you got a good quality black tea, you should be able to get a pretty respectable second steep. And I would say on both of these, you certainly can. And even there's some good store brand teas that you can get a decent second steep out of it. You know, Jackson's Earl Grey is not a bad Earl Grey at all. And you can get a, acceptable second cup on it. So you could certainly try for a second steep. You'll like it.
Okay, very good.
Anything else I can share with you, Miss Molly?
Well, I want to thank you for steeping teas with me and chatting. So what's in your big cup? Or
What's
is
in
it,
my big pup? It's actually one of my very favorite teas. You and I have talked about this. This is Burning Sun, and it's a breakfast kind of blend, but a higher end one from the same garden, the Lumbini estate, that that we use as the base for the Earl Grey White Tip. Yeah, it's my go-to tea. I drink it in the morning, but kind of all day long too. So, great tea.
well, thank you very much. And thank you, TeaSource, for some terrific tea. Um,
Tea for you.
tea. So I guess I can stop the recording. Yes, no?
Should be down in the bottom right-hand corner. Should be a button when you scroll down toward there that appears that says end meeting for all or something like that.
Well, I can stop the recording without
Oh
that.
yeah, you can just stop.